And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great broadcast today. Call with your car questions at 888-CAR Clinic. Miss Jan will put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. On the air with us now is Kate Carr, President and CEO of Safe Kids Worldwide. A new report released this week, folks, from Safe Kids Worldwide reveals that school zones can be unsafe places for students. Those statistics and those from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration should give students and parents pause. I'm glad Kate's with us today to shed light on what's going to be in our school zones and what's going on there. Kate, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby, it's so great to be back. Thanks for having me on, and we do have some interesting information to share with your listeners today.
Well, recently, I think everyone is in the news saw where some children were run over by a driver that errantly steered around the bus. I just caught the tail end of it. But, you know, is there, and that was a school zone, as I understand. So share with us a little about the new research and your own personal views. And, folks, Kate's been in this industry and president and CEO of Safe Kids Worldwide. She has a lot of experience, and she's been in a lot of places and seen a lot of things with regard to the safety of our children. So, Kate, I'll turn the mic to you, and you can fill us in on the latest.
Thanks, Bobby. You know, part of this comes from being a mom. I'm a mom of three. And we started looking, what made us take a really deep look at this was the number of deaths that are happening and the increase in fatalities for teens, kids between the ages of 12 and 19. There was a 13% increase in fatalities in 2015 alone.
Wow.
That's the second year. And, you know, it's two things. We talk a lot about kids and cars. So our teen fatalities for kids in cars are going up, and our pedestrian injuries for teens, fatalities for teens are going up. So two alarming things. So with support from FedEx, and they've been a long-time supporter of ours, we observed 39,000 middle and high school students and 56,000 drivers. And we did our observations in 16 states, 33 middle schools, 34 high schools. So this is a pretty good sample. And what we found that really made me worry was only 4 in 10 of the schools that we looked at had speed limits of 20 miles or less. And, you know, speed is an important factor. When you're driving at 35 miles per hour and you hit a pedestrian, the risk of death is 30%. But if you drop that down to 15 miles per hour, the risk drops down to 5%. So
Wow.
We can do something really easy by having speed limits and enforcing them. And then what we saw kids and drivers doing was enough to make all of us crazy, but really, truthfully, not very surprising.
Well, to that end, Kate, I'd like for you to educate the parents and students who might be listening and or watching Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What are the things that kids are doing to put themselves in jeopardy? And I know that's hard to control, because if you're that age, the last thing that you worry about are the cars around you. So I think maybe the responsibility, or at least the job, if you call it a job, or the responsibility is on the parents to teach the kids what to do and what not to do while crossing streets and roadways around their schools. But take us to that arena and share with us what's going on, and perhaps we can save a life while you're on the air today.
Well, wouldn't that be wonderful
Yes.
if we could get this information out? Because with 5 kids dying every week, and as pedestrians, there's some things that we could do. So, you know, when we think of a teen today, and even middle schoolers, we know that many of them have cell phones. Their cell phone use, or teens with cell phones, have increased from 45% in 2004 to 88% in 2015. It's almost double. So really were paying attention to, were teens walking and texting? Were they walking and talking on a phone, or did they have headphones on or earbuds? And the numbers of students that had all of that going were, in high schools, it was 1 in every 4, and that's crossing the street.
Wow.
And in middle school, 1 in every 5. So this is something that's really easy. If you're going to cross the street, don't be texting while you're crossing, or take your headphones off, because you may not hear the sound of a car coming around, and it could be a distracted driver. So there's some simple things that we could do, and some of these kids were doing all 3 at once. No surprise if you've seen a teen. Of course, like in many things, boys are at greater risk. We see more fatalities for boys. And we also saw that in terms of when we looked at all the pedestrian deaths, and this might surprise your listeners, 64% of them were in rural areas. And that might seem counterintuitive, that you might have more kids, but safe school zones and even safe communities where walkers can go can be found everywhere, or need to be found everywhere. I should say it that way.
Yes, I agree. We're talking with Kate Carr, President and CEO of Safe Kids Worldwide. Kate, what are the things that drivers are doing to put kids at risk? And then I have another question just popped into my mind, and that is 10 years from now, 15 years from now, will we have true zones that maybe have bells and whistles and are watching the cars? That just occurred to me because of the autonomous cars and the fact that autonomous cars are actually safer than we are on the highway. And sooner than later, we're going to know that. But what are the things that drivers are doing to put kids at risk?
2 great questions, Bobby. And, the drivers, and we looked at 56,000 drivers, 1 out of every 3 displayed at least one unsafe driver action when they were in the drop-off or pickup zone. They were parking on the opposite side of the street. They blocked a crosswalk. They double parked. They didn't follow the rules of the road, and rules of the road include things like speeding. And 1 in 10 was distracted, so they were doing something that we could observe from outside the car. So I actually think that's probably a underestimate, because you could only do distraction if you saw them holding the phone. So these are things that are easily correctable. In terms of your question about autonomous vehicles and what will happen, we all know that it's going to take a while for the auto fleet in the country to turn over. There are already things that will make driving safer for pedestrians, whether it's a pedestrian warning, automatic braking. These are features that are beginning to be built into cars. And as cars become more sophisticated and more people have sophisticated cars, and when we are able to get to an autonomous driving situation where there's a great deal of technology that will create safer walking zones and safer drivers, that's a vision for the future that we're really excited about. But I think it's more than 10 years away. So I'm happy. We work with GM too, and so I'm familiar with some of the features in that are now available in GM vehicles that make for safer driving habits. And some of them are great for even teen drivers. We've talked about that before. So lots of good things happening, but right now trends are going in the wrong direction, and that's why we have to get this message out.
And folks, to that end, we're talking to you. Kate Carr knows what she's talking about. She's with us today on Bobby Likis Car Connect to share with you the not-so-good news, and that is that the trend is going the wrong way. It's going up. So it is my job to provide exposure. It is my privilege to have you on the air, Kate. And I will tell you from a parent of 2, I have 2 beautiful daughters. At a certain age, you have to teach them. And the way to teach our children is to do, because they do what we do, is to watch what we do and wear our seatbelts and drive the speed limit and obey those rules and really have respect for the road, because after all, driving is a privilege, it's not a right. And I really appreciate you taking the time and always glad to have you in the house here at Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and congratulations on you and your team and all the great job that you do. And I know that GM has also provided some support along the way, so hats off to GM as well. Kate Carr, President and CEO of Safe Kids Worldwide. Kate, one last question, a website.
www.safekids.org, and lots of information there, and some things like how not to get hit by a car in an interactive infographic that families can find useful to have a conversation. You know, Bobby, my kids like to teach me too, so we all teach each other, and it's
I agree.
It's a wonderful thing.
I agree.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Kate. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much.